I just want to point out to everyone that David Matt is co-hosting this meeting. He'll be the one in charge. If you have questions, you can either text him or you can raise your hand. There's a way of doing that on Zoom. And he'll make sure that I'm alerted to the questions. Please feel free to ask anything you like. No holds barred, and I'll do my best to reply. So I think, David, I will give you the first question. Go ahead.
Okay, this is a short question. In your humble opinion, can one be awake and also somewhat neurotic?
Oh, definitely. In fact, being awake involves noticing one's own neuroticism. And that's a really excellent question, because there's been this controversy in the last few days about beyond personality, which a friend of mine, probably an ex-friend now, has been pushing pretty hard. And in my view, there is no beyond personality. There is noticing one's personality. It doesn't go away. You don't get beyond it because you notice it. You work with it. So if you know that you have a tendency to be angered quickly, but you're awake, when the anger starts to come up, you won't blame the other person. You'll say, wow, this is me. This is Robert. So just cool your jets, man. And that's why when you meet people who are awake, they seem to have I don't know, kind of a lightness to them. If you've ever noticed that, they're fun to be around, and they don't make you feel, they don't belittle you, they don't make you feel lesser than. And so awake means noticing oneself. It does not mean, as so many of the gurus try to teach, that you become something else entirely, more than human, as I think that's a book title, More Than Human. No, you are fully human, in the sense that you understand that each human being has problems and a background, parents, and a childhood, and an upbringing, and a culture, and all of these things that make us who we are in society and in culture. And that is never erased, it's embraced. I don't know if that answers the question.
Okay, here's one more. In your interview with Rick Archer, you said that you don't need anything, you don't want anything, you are satisfied. And you've also said that you have a strong sense that you are not the doer. Are those two things related?
Well, the sense of not being a doer, I think, comes through understanding that our thoughts and feelings arise as they do. They kind of bubble up like the bubbles in a glass of seltzer. And we're not making them. We become aware of them when they come to consciousness, but we don't choose our thoughts and feelings. And since we don't choose our thoughts and feelings, when we find ourselves doing something, it's not that we have decided to do it, it's that the thoughts and feelings that bubbled up caused us to do it. So that's the non-doer part. When I say I'm satisfied, that's more of a comment on my good fortune in life. I'm a lucky person. I was born into a good family with an intact body and mind in a central country where, at least in those days, the politics wasn't totally crazy. And all of these, I had a good education, met great people in my life. So that's what I mean by not wanting anything. At a certain point, I realized that I already had been given everything that a human can rightly desire. And so I just don't ask for anything more. I have what I need.
In the context of that interview, I had the feeling that the discussion was related to awakening or enlightenment, and that Rick was saying yes, in according to all the scriptures, that's kind of prediction that when one is awake, that will be the experience of being satisfied and not feeling that you need to get the next thing and that kind of thing?
Oh, well, that might be part of it. I really don't know. When you asked me, you asked me if there was a connection,
Mhm.
I looked into it and couldn't really find anything. But yeah, maybe Rick's right about that. I really don't know. I do know that I had a very startling experience about 35 years ago, after which it took me a couple of years to digest that and to admit to myself that what had happened to me was the same kind of thing that I had always read about and heard had happened to other people who were considered awake. And so I had to kind of, well, it was difficult to accept that, because it feels narcissistic to say, well, I'm awake. But on the other hand, if you don't, you'll be denying something about your experience. So here I sit, an awake person. I'm not saying I'm equivalent to the Buddha. That would be kind of narcissistic, but I'm awake in the sense that I see myself clearly and don't have any difficulty with personality. It's just here. And that was I guess I should say something about that, because I know people were aware of that. Jez has been a friend of mine. He and I did a nice interview a few years ago. I really like him. And a lot of the things that he says are true in my experience. He has a very good outlook on a lot of things. But in my view, he took it too far when he said that there was a way of getting beyond personality and that he kind of could lead you into that way. I don't think there is such a place. And even if there is, I don't think anybody can lead anybody into anything. This is where he and I differ, and this is where I differ from a lot of the so-called spiritual teachers. If you were playing a game of Monopoly, someone couldn't just pick up your piece and move it ahead on the board, all these squares, just because you wanted that done. You would have to roll the dice. And life, as I see it, is like that. If you want to learn, you have to suffer. Nobody can just take your suffering away and give you a shortcut, because awakening doesn't happen through hearing certain words. That may alert you to the fact that there is such a thing as being awake. That's good. But the words will not awaken you. You have to do the suffering. That's the whole point. It's your life that has to be lived, not that the teacher can take your piece on a Monopoly board and just jump it ahead. It doesn't work that way. We all might want to be on the boardwalk, but that's not the way it's happening. See.
Okay, I see somebody else has a question, but I just want to do one quick follow-up on the point you just raised. So the people who did read your books and did say, hey, this changed my life, or the boat has been capsized. In those cases, it seems like those words somehow did move things along somehow.
Well, that's such a deep question. It just opens up if someone reads my book and says my boat has been capsized, I think what they mean is, I was seeking spiritual enlightenment and now I'm not, which in my view is a really good thing. I don't think it means that reading my book awakened them. I think what it did is put them back on the highway instead of off on this long desviación. I can't think of the word in English.
Detour.
Detour. Thank you. Thank you. Who's that? Thanks. Yes. So the spiritual teaching, in my view, is a detour. What it does is it tells you you're not okay the way you are, but here's a series of steps you will follow. And at the end of that following these steps, you will be awake or you will be enlightened. That is a detour, because what it feels like to be awake, this is my personal experience. Other people may disagree with what the word awake means. I know they do. But in my understanding, what it feels like for me to be awake is that all I have is now. And it's always now. And I have no project to improve anything. My project is to live in this moment and realizing that I'm going to die. And there won't be any self-improvement that can stop that from happening. So enjoy this moment while you have it. You see, the achievement is in the moment. What one achieves, in my view, in my opinion, is the ability to just sit here and be okay. And I don't see any achievement beyond that. I know some people do, and that's fine. If they want to be on that, what I consider a detour, I can respect that until they aren't anymore. So I think that what some people have gotten from my books is permission to get back on the highway, which is right here and now, instead of imagining that Swami so-and-so or whoever it may be had the keys to the highway. That's not true, in my opinion. I don't know if that answers.
Yeah, no, that's a great answer. Thank you.